Self-discovery in 6 parts by multiple personalities. 1. We began. We flew forth fast through the seeds of green grass. Fluids lined the path, and the path was a feared flash. We crashed into our egg, and when an egg and seed mix, you get half bird and half plant, like when fish and ants kiss. We began to breathe, and lungs began to grow, and brains began to expand as the mind invented the definition of knowing facts. And we slowly started to see the knowledge of why we be meant nothing but the survival of the seeds of the past breeds. Our knees and our elbows grew to hold use, so they bent back and forth to put themselves to a grand use. Self-abuse was exploration, and the same with all centers. The nose, mouth, and genitals all connected together by the intestine, the spine, the bones, and the vines that wind around the bones, pumping blood to new homes. When we began, we were aquatic, so our gills were symbiotic with the lungs of beached whales, and why toads and men lose our cats are because of the tail. Lost the wash as we slipped through the tunnel. Darkness to light, back again. Breaths hurt so bad must return to the bubble. Start to struggle and shake as the whole world knew the wake of a crumbling, quake-aching, stake-raising, pop-placing high, as the signs of the light in the sky caused the earth to orbit different, and the animals lost their patience for the tornado's potato oasis. It's a crisis, in fact, that the knowledge we lack causes false prophets to emerge, filling voids in the form of concerns. Questioned answers answered the riddle why we were all left here breathing, growing and knowing that the more we survive, the less hope we had for survival. And for the human race to try to survive, we need to conquer new lands and provide the smooth ride, be able to improv and plan the equations of sand. Rubbing up against plates, the earth was asleep as the people that ran it all awaited awake. For me, and you, and her, and him, we'd win the fights for new fights to win. We'd taken a chance. We danced during class, and we're all wide asleep, as is the case with all chance. And scholars believe that whatever happened was right. At least it happened, and we never questioned its existence, right? Slight plausible, negative, probable not. Pause the critical masses during bubble slumber spots. Our love for ourselves set up ideas of importance, and we create an importance in us in the voyage to be important. And these words that I write flow through the blood in hindsight. The brain is limited by the eyes, and I can't even imagine the process by which we level attention when flies in the air measure cares and elections in different dimensions. And this one's for the guys. The girls we hope to fuck know that we want to fuck them, but they don't want to fuck us, but they like the fact that we want to fuck them, so they fuck us. And this one's for the girls. You're being used by the more powerful, much different kinds of you, but we're completely different, like the difference between true and untrue, and free form and freedom. They simply never existed. They weren't copies or spawns, they weren't stopping the laws, they weren't fighting a cause. Freedom, it's knowing that we can never truly be oppressed. And knowing is knowing that we only know nothing unless the opposite can be proved. But people are arguing the opposite to your negative. The positive in your fable is in your favor. And we danced with balance for a minute or two, and we got bored with its war, tugging back and forth from the cure to the cause and disease to the cure. We glanced at each other, and we both dropped our dissension on the side of keeping it well and good, because usually when two people fight and nobody is in the right, because nobody is ever in the right ever, especially during fights, the two usually come out with a better respect for the never-ending origin of human intent. 2. I'd spent a lot of time wondering, and I'd spent a lot of time thinking, pondering, contemplating, talking, writing, reading, and the thing that I've learned is nothing ever exists, except for in our mind, because if our minds didn't exist, then nothing would ever exist to us. We forgot that if we washed our skin, we'd wash away the dust of history's winds. You spun around until the mounds of sound triggered vibrations from different asleep stations and other people's octave, high-five, cloud breaking over our heads, and we're glad to be alive, not dead, or wishing for another place to rest. Sessions of memory, pictures of her, spoken through a fond, warm blur, slurred my speech and scrambled my brain, and another's left to wonder why the wise man and the insane man have a similar level of consciousness. The line is fine, and the thought of time is as linear as we are two-dimensional, and all that encompasses us is image, and the thought of this mind is the need for a fraud prevention mall scrimmage. See, I knew the new leader would lead us anew. The answers in the question, but the questions were askew. So I asked the baby boy Jesus the only thing that exists. He said, Spirit. And I thought to myself for a minute, and thought he was right until he muttered under his breath then, Fear it. And I smiled and walked away from him as he rocked around inside his crib. We know that our friends can never know our signs, and we know that the world can't obey our minds, but we tried. And we can always say we tried. And it is as trivial as it is arbitrary, as is this, and you, and especially me, and all the baby animals in the world. And this rat's maze of a life which we supposedly carry around is as much an idea as there is fuel inside sound. It prompted us to blink as the kinks worked out think for themselves pink is brutally honest versus the dark green of a failed promise. And we sloshed out our thoughts till they brought us vast wealth. The rocking horses stopped as they watched the clock take its 12th journey, yearning for a different kind of morning. The sloppily drawn figures came to life past at long last a true warning, because we're searching for danger. What excites us is part true and part false, and the 13 people that were trapped were inside of your walls. The critical, the spiteful, your last sense of belief, faith, hope, liberty, passion, and what's lurking beneath, like the hate, anger, thievery, sexual angst. They're all words. We're all people. Let's give ourselves thanks. We continue our thoughts in written apologies while wishmakers wait for the hopes to drop from overseas. And we pled for approval we knew would never come. A fragment of a lifetime worth waiting for. Never knew the sun's caused us little to wait for, and the last mile of the marathon is not worth the whole run. Our lungs bleed and we define discoveries for the proof. And we examine and learn and believe and forget and change our mind. When the world was intact, we ruined the surface to serve the selfish purpose, which was to serve as a platter for forgiving the matter. 3. The angel sang a dark hymn like a diamond to a blind man. She knew we were self-righteous, so she offered us only the sleight of her hand. And she and me, we grew apart. We fumbled through the dizzy art, and the children crawl through shopping malls not knowing their brains are being washed by the pictures on the walls. They gurgle and burble and murble until we teach them our language, till follow, till still. The rules are taught out of a golden handbook, and instructions to the game is playing it safe or daring to win. But if you're not intelligent, then you'll fuck up the intention of not losing the origin of why you want to win in the first place. To fuck up the rules in the first place. To fuck up the place, till the trace of the place is lost without chance of recovery, so we might have a chance at a different discovery. We wondered until the language broke her stillness from form, and we paused a lot while we kissed each other warmer than we'd ever been before. And the children in both of us knew it was wrong, but the rules had been broken, and we knew the new rules were spawned to break the laws again. At least that's what we'd hope. But the fears were lined with coke. Paranoia set in, and we'd fear the fear of paranoia till fears begins. And the same can be said for love, and it will, till the lovers who we were killed the children who spill love's fear are cleansed from their loving spirit. And a lot has been said and can be said for love, like, love is all-powerful. Love is a showerful. Love is a coward's tool. And love is unnatural. Like warm and cold in an idea of youth, we knew we were powerful, but we only learned later that we were never foolproof. The hate and the love twisted the challenge for warm to overcome cold, and we balanced ourselves beaming the rules for the old. The wisest that live had experienced 100 times fold. We knew as much as them, but the wise only pretend that the knowledge from the past keeps the systems organized, long-lasting. Double the flavor, double the fun, fact-passing passions for wisdom's unwon rights. The fictions exist in ideas, so the facts are unlisted in the retwisting visions of fiction. We knew fact was the past, and the rules would always insist on existing because the rules listed themselves as a mandate for playing the game. And we tried to separate the love from the fiction, but ultimately we came to the conclusion that they were always the same. 4. The game was sick. We sought company for each other and shelter from discouragement. We grew hate from seed, and seed sought soil and water and sun. Symbolism saw me for what I really was, and I referred to him as Simon because Simon said he was just another cousin of confusion and deception. We never remember each other if we never learned our lesson, because hate was wound with happiness, and Simon was afraid that if love was as with happy that day, then sad was as a grave. And we were buried lovely in the soil that grew the hate. The sun had so much power that it burned through dirt and saved the happiness. I journeyed through paths of recklessness to find an abandoned cabin, and the fever was so dopey that the bass increased the tremble in my eardrums with speedy tempo as an analogy for what we thought we were, and the sadness was apparent in the love of fond, warm blurs. See, she was just a memory, and I was just a thought, and people in the surrounding distance were ideas of our own family's existence. As our neighbors pounded on our floors to get us to shut the fuck up, we stood and locked our fingers there to prove our disbelief in the thoughts of unfair luck. And the beings on our surface and the skin upon the land disproved the cause of love one day, and we knew that hate couldn't exist without love, and sad and happy too. I fought alone on days that never came to prove the claims against the grains. As I grew old, my brain did too. And Simon ended up admitting he was fraudulent. As people watched on their TVs, he said numbness led to what we asked for, silent breaths for peace. But mankind knows not what it wants, it only looks around, and it walks upon the trails of dawn that had been lying around. And the flowers on the surface died along with the sun, but we enjoyed its life within its visit, and we anxiously awaited patiently, as we knew the surface of this earth did have much, much more to come. 5. And as we began to die, we knew truth, as they published our histories and lies. We were patients, and the medic chose to never show, and our hearts are clocks, and my eyes were sought after by the greedy. My blood was vacuumed by the bleeding, the rest was collected by the needy, and the best was overlooked again. See, time, and time was not my friend, he wasn't there, he left some men to beat me thoughtless through the endless bounds. Answers are useless without the questions, and my questions are surrounded by doubt. Cloudy visions of a gray heaven, and I know that you are there. Heaven exists for the afraid, and you are my friend, but I'm scared. I confide in the lies, and if you are fabrication and we are all created equal, then what the fuck am I? Just another prompt? Just a blip of thought? Just a glass of eggnog and rum? Just a barrel full of monkeys bathing themselves in cum? Disgust and disgust and disgust and disgust. We only found life in the disgust of disgust. So we blew up balloons in celebration of blown up harpoons and castrations. Cake and ice cream made with sweat, 2 parts sugar, 1 cement, and the seamen were astounded by what they could not see. The sounds were just as terrible as sounds could ever be. When they needed faith, I needed luck. When I needed faith, they were counting treasures. When we were all there, life was unfair, but I dared to care. The double dogs that were blinded by the seas of greens, the storms of weather's nasty breeze, and the nouns that plague my enemy's rage, and the clouds that trap my judgment in a grim and tragic cage, were the same afflictions that we left our lovers when they died from the old age. I'm a forgot. They say I'm a nothing. They say that we're heroes. I say that they're wrong. Here's a list of what they say. Maybe it happened, we don't know. Hope you all enjoyed the show. This thing's gay and that thing's gay, and we know that this is the only way. So if you want to prosper and you don't want to perish, then the only way to save yourself is through the bounds of holy marriage. Then the children, then the babies, then the cries, and then the us. We're always right, you must do your time and then you turn to dust. There is only one way, there is only one God. There is only me, and me. There is nothing else on this planet for what we want this boy to be, and the disappointment that belittles us never saw a worse display than that of a worshipping us. And I had you fooled for a moment or two, and I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew that I pretended that I thought you knew, but you knew too goddamn motherfucking well that what bothers me most below the ground is that shitty foul something fucking smell. And we laughed for memories late at night, and laughed for free-form flying, crying kites. And we cried for those who we thought we knew well, and I smiled for the devil, because the devil gives me my beautiful hell. 6. We got lost. We caused the thing to fall. When fiction catches up with fact, we all will be indisposed, because babies only learn to walk after they learn how to crawl. See, I'm super smart and uber genius and this, that, this, and this, but well, the whole thing's put away on one bright, clear, nice day as she delivers to me a kiss. And she was warm and fuzzy like an angel in my arms, and we loved like lovers never have. She was caught off guard by beauty and charm, and her scars reminded me that beauty can never truly be seen, and love has to be. But beauty is the thing that's felt. You've had it wrong all along. She stumbled about, triggering alarms and doubts of security. We French kissed in innocent interludes of purity. She was that good. I guess we were too, because I have many people in my brain, and she does, and all the lives that combine in your skull know that you do too. So we all have multiple personality, and everyone's ashamed, and people are pure crazy, and I'm probably crazy, at least a little deranged and sick. I mean, I must be, you trust me? We'd love to have you in our heart, but we've been hurt before. I'd love to let you in my head, but I've been shown the door on the way out before, and I'm losing reasons to explore. And the girl was dying on the floor, so I fucked her on the floor because she was going to die anyways, and at least we could save the child. And the last kid of creation was a boundary that was not allowed to bound. And the randomness amongst the order was as sequential as it was anti-found. And we lost it on the bachelor's cross as we crossed the X's and crossed the lines. I crossed the T's and dotted the I's, and I must disguise the fact that I can only consume what I lack. Zack, 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 and zack. We're haunted by what we could be, and although it's all done naturally, I could scare you with the awful truth that love is blind, and only the blind can see anyways, so who could ever give a fuck about you. Seriously, why should anybody give a fuck about you? Why is it that I can only help myself come to this truth? Why is it that you and me can never relate to anything but poetry and art, I guess? We tested the limits of our minds and we did find out one thing, that nothing ever exists but in our minds, because if our minds were gone, nothing would exist. And only the idea of nothing can exist within our minds, where it was created and found at the midst of a traveler's rousing interest in the sequence of happenstance. Happenstance, a new one that makes as much sense as me. Happenstance, an event that might have been arranged although it was really accidental. So in the somewhat random circumstance sequence of happenstance, we lost our chance to rouse the traveler's interest in what has become to be the beginning of nothing existing in our minds. Oh yeah, we couldn't figure it out for ourselves. We needed each other's help. When we all decide that we're fine with the truth, and fiction is as a lie, as a butter knife is a you, then we'll know that there isn't a you, not a lasting one anyways. That all that we've learned that is untrue is true, and all that was wrong wasn't ever not right. We wrote riddles at night with eyes wide shut to distract us from sight. I am a lie. I'm going to admit that right now. I am a motherfucking lie, but it doesn't change a thing. As we die and shrivel and shake and stop and ache and die, and we stink and we smell, and they watch and they cried and they lived a life full of emptiness and died too. After all the love and all the hate, the death was what we watched for in the middle of our lives, because death was the only hurdle that couldn't be tackled, the only speckle of dust that couldn't be caught, the one that gleamed brighter than all the others in the trail of the light. Death is as a mystery as infinity is a number, and 0 isn't a number, and my thumb isn't a finger. Fuck off, the lot of you. And it's back to me again, showing a friend around my beautiful life and my beautiful town and my beautiful mind and my treacherous truth.
Woo!